I believe we're live now. We meaning me. And what we're going to talk about today, we meaning me, is a kind of a potpourri. We're going to start with Richard Dolan, who I have a great amount of respect for. I follow his work all the time. But, you know, I'm going to do a little of what Jesus said not to do, which is pick at the speck in your brother's eye when you have a log in your own. Because, you know, someone has to pick on me. That's just the way it works. But I'm going to pick on Richard. And I'm just going to say that it was a little snarky and a little bit below him. He could have acknowledged. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Anyway, welcome back. I'm very happy to be here. It takes a lot of work even just to prepare a few videos, but I do have like clips that I want to play for you tonight that I want to then comment on. But before we do, in the news, I just saw, just FYI, look for this on YouTube or your favorite news source. No, YouTube, just YouTube. So apparently a military video of quite some length, like 40 minutes, was released to the public today. It's a little disappointing, but it shows an object that is just kind of white. They're calling it the rubber duck video because it looks a little bit like a rubber duck where you've got the big body and then the little head, and it kind of looked like that, and we couldn't tell if the head was connected to the body. Anyway, you'll see it. But they tracked this thing moving anywhere between 90 and 150 miles an hour, something like that, and tracked it for like 40 minutes. The thing was hauling ass and changing speeds very erratically, and then just going faster than our drones can go, I think. And they didn't think it was a drone. I don't know what they thought, but it dropped, and it's been very. Oh, this is, by the way, this is from the Department of Homeland Security. It's not from the, you know, the Navy or anything. Although it may have been from the Navy, but DHS is who provided the video, and as they were requested, you know, by the order for UFO task force and all that stuff. They said that, you know, people from different organizations should report whatever they see, so that's happening. That's kind of cool. But really, there's so much more that people could see. But I guess we're you know, they're going to go at their own pace, and they're liars, and they're going to lie their way into some disclosure. I don't know how much. It better be all of it, because if they don't, they're going to lose all credibility. Because there's more of us out there that know what's going on than they would like to believe. So, yeah, and I don't even know what's going on in their heads. But speaking of heads, it's time for me to get into the right space here. So, right? So I will play a little music while I do that. Join me if you can, smoke it like you're on. I'm not trying to flaunt this, okay? stop sharing. Okay. Not gonna cough. Oh, okay, that feels better. I'm a little bit more in the mood to do this now. My voice is shaking only because I'm on the verge of coughing. I know you know what I'm talking about. Well, maybe not all of you. It depends. I don't even know who my audience is yet. So far, it's just the fun people. So, little update on the site. I have 11 subscribers, and like my videos have, I think the last one I did with Bob Lazar and Nassim was, I have about 160 or 70 views, which is really good. Okay, without further ado, let's move into something kind of interesting, kind of nitpicky. I don't know what you'll think of me after this, but I think it's instructive because I'm trying to build bridges. Okay, so let's play this first video. Now this comes at the end of a long interview Richard did, and did a good job with. But then a question came in, basically saying, "I'm not buying any of this. How come there's no clear pictures? Everybody's got great phones now. How come there's no clear pictures?" And this is Richard's response. If I can get at it here. Okay.
Qualify what you know. There's a lot of gray baskets, as Stan Friedman said. There's a lot of stuff in that gray basket. And you got to learn to be comfortable with uncertainty in this field. That's the name of a great Zen book. It's one of my favorite books on that subject, on Zen. But it's a good rule for life. You better be comfortable with uncertainty. And so know what you know what you can prove, construct your architecture around what you can be. Cartesian. Know what you know. Construct a solid edifice around what is known. And around things that you don't know, well, then you do your best and you make qualified assessments to the best of your ability. That's it.
Here comes.
I say that's it like that's
snarky
easy, but
question coming.
Not easy. But that's all that I had to do.
There's a snarky comment here from E. Alistair Stan who says, "Interesting interview, but I don't buy any of these UFO stories. How is it that many people manage to clearly video Chelyabinsk meteor, a once-in-a-100-year event, but somehow no one manages to get a clear photo or video of UFOs?" Occam's razor says ... So how do you respond to a comment like that?
Well, I mean, look, I don't have the time to walk him through kindergarten level ufology. It's clear that he hasn't gone through it. It's obvious from the comment. So study the military declassified documents first before you embarrass yourself with snarky comments. Honestly. Don't walk into a subject that you know nothing about and act like you actually know everything.
That I agree with.
Like, why do that? So have enough humility to recognize that you don't know all the evidence, because otherwise you wouldn't say what you did. To me, as I said to you earlier, the evidence doesn't suggest or hint. The evidence proves one thing, that the United States military has encountered genuine UFOs. And I say this through an analysis of declassified United States military documents.
Hang on.
It's not just 5 or 10, there's hundreds of them. They're good documents. They're real documents. It doesn't prove that these are alien. It proves that there's trouble in paradise.
I went on way too long. I was daydreaming about something. Sorry. But what I wanted to comment on here is simply that the guy, he has a snarky comment, but he has a valid point too that needs to be answered. And that is, the point is that we kind of should get more clear videos with these phones if they're coming close enough to be filmed and allowing it to happen. Because yes, they are in control of that. And the way they do that, stay in control of that, is that for some strange physics, they are able to read our minds, first of all. Now, if you're skeptical about that, recognize that just about everyone who has seen a UFO, especially in, like either by yourself or with a small group, most of these people will say that the object seemed very aware of them and was even reading their mind as if to do something in a display fashion, just to sort of acknowledge that they see you. Hello. Hopefully that's how nice they sound. But yes, they know when we're looking. So if we're about to take a picture, I've even heard stories where from credible witnesses who said that when they went to take a picture, a video, then the object flew away. So they're very much in control of this, and I think that would be the right answer instead of saying what he said. So, Richard, I love you. But I thought it was a legitimate question. And the answer, again, is really, if you didn't believe UFOs existed, the answer would be nonsensical. But the answer is that they are controlling how close of a photograph we can get. They are doing that. So it would appear that they have their own pace at which they want this to happen. We are certainly seeing an increase in sightings, bizarre sightings, most of which are hard to debunk. So things are heating up. I like that. All right. Let me check my notes here for what else I want to talk about. That was just a quickie. Okay, Paul Wallace. Paul Wallace, if you know who he is, he's the one who wrote 2 recent books, Escape from Eden and The Scars of Eden. And by the way, we didn't escape Eden, we were kicked out, so just a reminder on that, Paul. It doesn't resonate too well with me. That's assuming that this whole Adam and Eve story is true, right? And I actually do think it probably is, because I don't think man wrote that story. And I don't think man designed what happened in there. I think that was definitely the ETs. Well, next up on my notes is a little bit about Wallace and how, this is a good thing about him, he's contributed so much to this biblical expose, 21st century eyes on the Bible, and recognizing what we're reading there is high technology, and it just makes you feel like you've gone from reading ancient, irrelevant, biblical Old Testament, to science fiction, futuristic novel type thing. That's what ancient alien theory does with the Bible. And if you're lucky, you'll catch some kind of spirit of God from it. I did. But anyway, let's look at what I always thought was an interesting biblical story, which is the story of when Moses had already accomplished, and his people had already met with God on Mount Sinai. And I guess the event was about coming to an end, if I recall correctly. So Moses knew that the Lord was going to be leaving, and he had an interesting request. He asked, "Please, shew me, S-H-E-W, right, old King's English. Shew me your glory." And the Lord comes back and says to him that he can't do that, but he can let you, because it would be dangerous. But he placed Moses in a cleft in the rock and told him that as I pass by, you'll be able to see my hind parts. And that was all he was going to get. I'll let you see my ass. Right? If you interpret the Bible in this Orthodox contemporary way, then what was I going to say about that? If you interpret it the way most people think of this, is that Moses was asking to see God. That's the way they interpret it. But he had already seen God face to face. Through the Ark of the Covenant. He was able to meet with God through a television-like device. That the Ark was. Yeah, I'm going to get into that in a future article, and it's like one of my best pieces because you'll get a really good feel for what the Ark was all about. Don't really care where it is now. Would love to see it come to light, but hey, that's not where the interest for me is. Because after you find out what I found out, you'll never forget it. It's just the story about what happened to the two brothers, Aaron and his other brother, Aaron. I don't know. But Aaron, which was like a high priest at the time, brother of Moses, and his sidekick, whoever he was with, they got drunk and they did the wrong thing inside the Ark of the Covenant tabernacle where it was, and they were killed. And how they were killed, you'll just never believe. But that's a story for another day. I just think that we have to recognize that when Moses is saying, "Show me your glory," he's saying, "Show me your ship. Show me, let me watch you take off," And the Lord said that would be dangerous. He didn't. I don't remember. Paul says that the Lord said that. I need to go back and review the actual thing, because it seemed to me that he didn't say, "Oh, it'd be dangerous." He just said something like, "No, I can't do that, but I'll put you in a cleft in the rock and you can see my hind parts as I pass by." That was the exact quote. So let's listen to Paul on this for a second, then we'll come back and talk about it. Switch tabs here. And share screen. Go.
Describes the capabilities and propulsion system of the Vimana. The Mahabharata speaks of Vimanas which could fly, dispatch sound-seeking missiles, and destroy targets with what we would call lasers. Once again, the ancient writers reach for metaphor to describe unfamiliar and powerful technology in earthly terms. Some Vimanas are described in terms befitting earthly palaces. Yet there's no attempt to make mechanical devices or physical technologies sound like something ethereal or spiritual. Another word the Bible uses for ancient flying technology is kavod, and it means a big, heavy thing. And the way it's used in the text shows us that these big, heavy things could fly, but when they landed, they created quite a ruckus. They would arrive in fire and smoke, the earth would shake beneath them, and a sound like an enormous waterfall would emanate from the craft. And it's in one of these that the character Yahweh appeared.
Okay, I have to disagree there. This was not a pattern. This smoking and the eruption of Mount Sinai, so to speak, it wasn't really an eruption, but smoke and flame rose up from the mountain, it wasn't from the UFO. We all know UFOs don't use rocket technology, right? So they did not come down on this mountain intentionally trying to make a big splash by causing fire and causing the ground to quake. No, I don't think so. I think what they were doing was mining the white powder of gold, angel's food, manna. They were mining it from the volcanic ore. The volcanic ore has elements that were created in extreme heat underground, and that's why they're valuable. That's why ETs like to hang out. I don't know, not hang out at volcanoes, but they go to volcanoes and they get stuff done and they leave. This is happening even as we speak. There was just a video on third phase of the moon showing that one of these unidentified objects going right into a volcano. No question about it. It was intelligently controlled. It wasn't a drone in this case, but there are drones out there around volcanoes, so we have to be careful. But yeah, Paul is sort of saying that every time that big kavod would come, it would stir up all kinds of, no. There was one incident, and it was a big stir up, and it was smoke and flame and the ground quaking. But notice the smoke and flame, the Bible says it went up from the mountain, almost as if it was erupting. So that's what was happening there. But that's not the point of my...
It's in the book of Exodus and meets with Moses on Mount Sinai. Now, the conventional translation gets into some difficulty here because at the end of this long dialogue, Moses asks this powerful one, this Yahweh, "Can I see your kavod? Would you show me the kavod, the big heavy thing?" Yahweh explains to Moses, "You cannot see the big heavy thing move because if you do, it will kill you." And the words being used are very interesting. Yahweh explains to Moses that seeing the heavy thing at close range would be fatal. Instead, Yahweh says, he will cause the goods, tub in the Hebrew, to pass by in front of Moses. The goods is another word he uses to describe his big heavy thing. Moses will then be able to watch the kavod as it moves away.
Wait a minute, that makes no sense, and that's not what the Bible says. I'm sorry, Paul, but you're exaggerating what the Bible says. First of all, the Bible said that he simply said, "Shew me your glory," not your big, heavy thing. The word is glory. But glory means a lot of different things, like the mystical smoke that used to fill up a room sometimes, and they would call it the glory of the Lord. Things like that. And what doesn't make sense here is that Paul says that the Lord, Yahweh, said that it would be dangerous and you would die or something. I don't remember that being there. All he said was something like, I'll let you see my hind parts as I go by. Well, if he's going to go right in front of Moses, I mean, how is that any more dangerous than seeing it from the front if you're going to see the back of it? The radiation isn't one directional, is it? Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is we're talking about a spaceship here, very clearly, and I'll make that more clear in my my presentation, which I haven't made yet, on the Ark of the Covenant. I think it's on that, or it might be on. No, I think I called it A Meeting with God. And it's all about this incident on Mount Sinai. Just fascinating stuff in there. You're not going to believe some of the stuff. Okay, enough of that. You'll believe it, but you have to wait for it. All right, keep going.
However, to avoid being killed, Moses will need to be sheltered by a cleft in the rock and protected by Yahweh's hand, or pan. This ever so intriguing episode has been rendered in conventional translations as Moses being allowed to see God's goodness from behind, but not face to face. But how exactly can you see goodness and see it from behind? Furthermore, since Moses has been enjoying a face-to-face conversation with Yahweh for some days, how can he now be told that a face-to-face encounter would prove fatal? Clearly, something else is intended. The explanation that Yahweh gives to Moses is that when the kavod moves, Moses cannot see it paneh. And the first uses of that word paneh suggest it means on the surface or out in the open. So what Yahweh is saying is that Moses cannot be out in the open when the big heavy thing moves, or the forces will kill him. That's why he has to be sheltered in a cleft in the rock. I can remember many years ago.
Okay, that's enough. I think rather than waiting until I cover that, I'm going to tell you one thing right now that corroborates Paul's view of this and my view as well. It's all the same view, that this was a spaceship. But I think what I think you would find interesting, you up there. I know you're up there. I know you're there. I'm just not looking at you. I'm looking at the screens and stuff, making sure everything is cool. Okay, but this is fascinating. Okay, when Moses first, when the Lord first told Moses to prepare for a meeting at Mount Sinai, he said stuff like, "Tell your women, don't come at your women." You know, that was the phrase that he should come at. He didn't want anybody to happen to make love. He wanted everything to be like clean. For some reason, I don't know why. But then he issued this very strange commandment saying, "Don't approach the mountain, the base of the mountain, when I'm coming down. I will sound an all clear signal when it's safe to approach." And but on top of saying that, he said, "No man nor beast shall get close to the base of the mountain. If they do, they are to be shot through, both man or beast." So what he's saying there is, even if one of your calves sort of strays towards the mountain, if that happens, he needs to be shot and killed. Well, clearly not as a punishment, right? So there was a safety issue. It really sounds like radiation, but it might be something more exotic or a different type of radiation. I don't think of motherships as being dangerous in that way. So I'm a little confused by what was dangerous. But I think it had something to do with a mining operation that they were doing there, and I'll leave it at that for now. But the main point of covering this segment is just so you know, if you happen to hear this story being told by a pastor, just remember that It's about like a mothership. It's not about seeing God or seeing God's ass. So, yeah. All right, next. Linda had a great show. Linda Moulton Howe. Switch back to full screen. Hi. So Linda Moulton Howe just aired. What day is it today? Yesterday. I watched it today, or no, I watched it yesterday, and she covered an actual witness. The guy's still very alive and well. He's quite young still too, or young sounding. But he was a serviceman in charge of the missiles in the upper Midwest or Pacific Northwest. You know where all of our Minuteman missiles are and were. And this is not the incident that you heard from. I think more prominent was this another story that was, I forget where. I think we saw it on Ancient Aliens, but this is not that story. It's just as good, but oh, it's so really hard right now. What could that be? Or maybe I'm just needing to take my 12 o'clock lorazepam. I take that one every 4 hours because that's where I'm at physically. It really sucks. But I'm really lucky to have lorazepam. It really makes me handle what's happening with me. Okay, I'm going to play some music and be right back. Bye. Okay, so back to Linda and the guest that she had on. So this guy, he sees, he's a Minuteman silo, maintainer, and he sees this bright light in the sky, and he knows it's so huge, it's not like an airplane or a helicopter. He thought it's got to be helicopters, but it didn't look like it. And as he was staring at it, it just popped out, just turned off. And then it turned back on again. It was like bright red, orange, white, changing colors. And so he actually had the idea to have some fun with it. I think he was still thinking that this was somehow their friends, in the military, some with some new equipment maybe, or what. That's what he was thinking. So he goes, I'm going to have some fun with this, and he went and shot a flashlight at it, like 3 times in a row, then a space, then 3 times again, like that. And darn if they didn't turn around and do the same thing back. So they echoed his signal, and that kind of freaked him out and turned him on, and he ran inside and tried to get his buddy to come out and look at it, and his buddy saw it. It wasn't blinking anymore, but it was there steady. And then it just switched off. And apparently his friend was unimpressed and goes, whatever, and just turns around and walks out. So he's left out there alone again. And then he came inside and spent another couple of hours just watching TV. And then they got word that there was a situation about 20 miles north of where they were. There was another silo there in a very, very small town. And on the way there, they saw this huge light in the sky, and they knew this couldn't be from the town because the town had one stoplight and one street stop sign, and that's it. So as soon as they rounded the bend at the right point in the road, they saw that there was this huge sphere, like the size of a Kmart super center, a Walmart super center, whatever. And it was like right on top of the missile silo. And he wasn't driving, his friend was, and they parked kind of at an angle. They were about to go down this road, but didn't, and stopped, because it would have taken them closer to this thing. And apparently that thing was already in control of the driver. And they stopped right there, and the most remarkable thing happened is that these beings came out, these grays, from the light somehow, and they came close to the truck. And this guy was, he basically fell asleep, and, well, I'm skipping past the important part. Before he fell asleep, while these beings were advancing towards him, he had a life review. They triggered a life review remotely as they were approaching him. You'll hear him describe this, and it's like what really struck me was that how fast every single event in his life flashed before his eyes with all the emotions attached, but yet just zipping past the whole thing at just unbelievable speed, and then it was over. My question for you, my friends, why do you think that was done? And what do you think may be the purpose of that? And I mean, we know that we've heard people who have died and come back to life, and some of them say they had a life review. A lot of them used to say that. I don't necessarily hear it all the time now, but yeah, so that's something that gets triggered when you're dying, or yeah. So how is it that they know how to trigger this thing, and why would they do it right then and there? I don't think they were trying to teach him anything by giving him a life review. I think they were trying to teach themselves about this man. Who is he? What's he all about? I think they just sucked it up in one big life review. Don't you? Doesn't that make sense? So I just thought that was interesting. Let's play the clip and see what I'm forgetting, if anything. Here we go.
Had to be. Really, it just shook me to my core. And it was so fast. I mean, I didn't think thought it could move that fast.
Went too far.
Back in 1977, even if people weren't saying that they were looking at teal blue beings.
Wow, I had no idea.
Okay, now, are you aware that you are passing out? What happens inside?
It's as if I'm in tunnel vision and I'm allowed to see what I'm seeing, because I remember going completely dark and questioning my mind and everything about my existence ever. Everything. I mean, it all flashes in front of you, like loss of my father, my mother, just everything that was happening. It all came to me in one flash.
Mario, are you saying that you had something like a life review sitting in that military truck with this gigantic UFO and these extraterrestrial biological entities approaching you, that you were given through your mind's eye like a movie of a life review?
I've never looked at it that way, but yes, that's what it had to be. Really, it just shook me to my core. And it was so fast. I mean, I didn't think thought could move that fast. It was just so strange to have this tunnel vision, as if I was fighting to not close my eyes, but yet somehow being told to close my eyes. And I kept hearing over and over again, do not fear, do not fear. We are not going to hurt you. Do not fear.
Today, in 2021, September, as we are talking, do you have any more evolved information or knowledge about why the tall being and the shorter beings would have run through your life in your mind's eye at Ellsworth Air Force Base when they had a huge UFO over a missile site?
Yeah.
I really don't know. It was just being either at the right place at the wrong time or the wrong place at the right time. It did not end there, and it continued on.
What happened?
That's the picture.
Well, I have memories. I remember somehow
He sketched this picture. So you see, kind of see the road leading to it. And let me get rid of this bar here. Go ahead.
they got me out of that truck. I was on my back. And I remember lifting up my head 3 or 4 feet above the ground, as if I was on a stretcher.
Yeah, we don't need to hear anymore, actually. I mean, I would love to play the whole thing, but you can watch Linda's show. Fantastic every week. This date over here is just the code name for this missile base. Cancel that, whatever it is. Okay, so yeah, a life review triggered by an alien. And believe me, this is not the first time I've heard this. But usually the way it goes is the alien with the gray with the huge black eyes, and they stare at you, and in your mind you're going through not only your whole life review, but I think at the same time you're being kind of reassured that you're loved. And I mean, I actually heard that, you know, it was very strange to get that from a gray. It could be a trick of the mind. I mean, a trick that they're playing on our minds by giving us a feeling of being loved. If that's possible, is it possible to induce that sort of thing with high technology? I don't know, because I don't think love is a chemical, but yeah, it's just a question. I mean, as you might be able to glean, I'm trying to think about what is the connection between extraterrestrials and the afterlife. Because some people have said, Bob Lazar, I think, was the first one who used the term containers, that the alien that he learned from the initial documentation that he read when he was on his first day at Area 51, that, containers. He saw that stuck out for him, that they viewed us as containers. So what are we containing? Our souls, I guess, right? Well, what do they have to do with our souls? Are they, but you hear stories from credible witnesses who say that the aliens have explained to them that they have this ability to project their own soul into a cloned body, like a human body, and this body has been grown in a vat, right? And they activate it and jump into it, so to speak, and come down to Earth and interact with us, disguised as a human being. So, I mean, if they have that kind of technology, I mean, when you ask yourself, you know, if you're religious or have been in the past, you know, there's, oh gosh, where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So one of two things is going to happen in the near future. Those are famous last words, in the near future, right? But either we're going to be visited by aliens and they're going to come out to us, you know, and give us all of their good technology that will heal the world, and or maybe Jesus is going to come back, right, and do what he said he would do, which is get rid of all the evil in the world, and I don't mean slaying them, but maybe that's involved. I don't know. I don't like that part of it. But, you know, him coming back and really, let's just take him at his word that there were the book of Revelation, which is supposedly Jesus coming, giving John this vision, right, where he's saying these things. It just, I'm always sensitive to the idea that someone could accuse me and say, yeah, you're going to get fooled because the aliens are not of God. You should be waiting for God, not the aliens. And well, we've been waiting for 2,000 years for that, so I don't know what has happened to this Jesus. Just like they said, excuse me, about Moses. Down below they said, no, as for this Moses, we don't know what's happened to him. Because he was gone a long time, 40 days. But 2,000 years? Where the book of Revelation says that Jesus promised to return soon. And John said, even so, Lord, come even sooner than that. Now it's been 2,000 years and I'm getting disappointed. And I worry, okay, because what are we supposed to make of the idea of a false prophet? I mean, how false is it if a race comes down and gives us technology that pulls us out of the wretched state that we're in right now as a world, just wretched. We long overdue for a savior, someone to come and save us. No one has come. If the aliens come and they give us what we want and they don't try to fuck with us, and they don't have a record of fucking with us, but they do have a record of secrecy, like what their motives are, what their goals are. They've never told us a thing about that. So we don't know, but we do know that people feel a lot of times like these beings exude love for us. Those are some of the reports, you know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm totally open to meeting them, but they have expressed through certain contactees, right, that they don't feel like it would go very well because they are such advanced beings and they are very good looking and they can do all these things, and they would just intimidate us physically and power wise as well. So we would feel rather funny about having these beings around, like to come live with us. I don't know if we want that because it's just not a fair playing field. It's not a healthy playing field. It's one that would end up with us being the lower class and them being the upper class. So they're aware of that, and that is not their intention apparently. And I'm guessing now, but you know, based on what I've seen, they have a conscience, and they have a desire to do good. But I don't know why they can't tell us what they're doing. Making hybrids, what for? Tell us. It's about time we fucking learn that. You know, who's being the bigger blocker here? Black Ops or the aliens themselves? But then you could say the same thing about Jesus. Where is he? How come he isn't telling us anything? How come he hasn't saved us from this wretched state that we're in? Well, you don't know your Bible there. I mean, it's just going to get worse. It says that right in the Bible. Yeah, I know. But it is getting worse. But I'm really talking about, you know, for the last 70 years, I'll go back that 70 years because that's when we got our first taste of their technology, and we just scooped it up and hid it from the world and never gave it to the public. So, oh yeah, maybe there's been some farming out of, hey, take this piece of, you know, I'm not telling you where we got it, just analyze it. Maybe we got some progress out of that, sure. But in the meantime, people have been going to hospitals, hooking themselves up to IVs and putting poison in their veins to try to kill cancer. And their husbands are watching them, or their wives are watching them suffer, lose their hair. It's disgusting. Oh, but it's all for a good purpose, Larry. You know, no pain, no gain. So, yeah, nobody promised a rose garden down here. All right, does that help you sleep at night, God? Or, yeah, who am I don't mean to be disrespectful to my elders up there, whoever they are. The angels. Who's listening to me up there right now besides my humans whom I love? I love them because I know them. But where are you? But you think I paint a bad picture here, but I don't. It's a good thing I left myself on minimize all that time. Yeah, back. Hello. I'm not really depressed about that so much right now because there's a hope in my heart that it's going to end. The suffering is going to end. I don't want to see any more people suffering. I don't want to suffer anymore. But I'm not suffering anywhere near as much as so many others are. And it's not just about health. I mean, that's a big one. But we're losing everything. We have no leadership, nothing we really love at the top to look to for a model. There's nothing, there's no, what's the word? There's no wisdom in the world anymore. Not that I have it, but it would be nice if I could look up to someone who did. But nope, that used to be the precedent, right? Or it should be. That's far from the truth now, right? So thank God we're not looking there anymore for leadership. at least moral leadership. I mean, fuck, this country legalized torture under Bush. He's a fucking war criminal. And John Woo, too, the guy who, the lawyer who willingly drafted some kind of legal paper that made it okay to do waterboarding and other forms of enhanced interrogation. That's all it is. It's an enhancement. It's going to be hard to forgive people, isn't it? But that's where I think we're going to get some help. Because once you understand where someone's coming from, then you can forgive them. And that might not ring true unless I go a little further into that. If someone is doing something that has harmed either you or the world for 70 years, guess who I'm talking about? Black Ops. Would you be able to forgive them if they came back and said, I'm sorry, it was the wrong choice, but you have to understand this, that, the other thing? Okay, well, it might not be that pretty of a thing. It might not be that pretty of a remorse, but there might be some remorse, and there might be some, hey, I was just doing what, what everyone else is doing, which is keeping the lid on it. And then you got to go to the, the leaders, and the leaders are going to say, national security, we didn't have a choice. We had to hide it. I mean, if we give this, to the world, somebody could destroy the world with it. But that's true of nuclear too, isn't it? Yeah, we have nuclear. Could really fuck the planet up good with that. So how much worse is whatever they have than our nuclear power? No, your excuse doesn't hold water. Sorry. But no, I am not depressed about the future, because I think we have a bright future. Because I don't believe that Jesus is at fault for not having come back yet. I don't honestly believe that. What I believe is that he knows when is the right time for that. I also believe that he's going to come with the ETs and other, just people from other places. He's not strictly for humans at this point. He is a leader. And he doesn't even want to be a leader. He just wants to be our brother. That's what he told us. That's one of the nicest things that I've heard him say. He would rather marry us. He actually wants us to be like his bride. I love that. I love the man. I wish I knew him. I wish I could talk with him. By the time I get there, he's not going to be the same Jesus that he was, in the Bible. But there may be ways, I'm sure there are ways where we could kind of transport back in time, talk to him if you want to do that, but I wouldn't want to do that. I would like to watch what happened, but I would be horrified at the same time. Not that I'm not horrified by everything else that has happened in the world. Believe me, Jesus being on the cross is not the worst catastrophe in the world. He didn't even die fully. I mean, he died. I mean, he didn't even die for good. So there's a lot worse things to feel bad about than him on the cross. But if what he did was for us, I know all the mainstreamers say that he bought our way into heaven. He paid for our ticket with his blood, his precious blood. You are fucking freaky with your precious blood bullshit. It's disgusting. And it's not what saved us. If anything saved us, It was his spirit working from up there, where he said, I'll be able to produce fruit tenfold up there, as opposed to being down here. So that's why I'm going to die. So, remember I said either the ETs or Jesus is going to come. What if they came at the same time? That's starting to feel more and more like, what if he comes in a ship? Well, who built that ship? The Elohim, or some other race. Maybe they bought it somewhere at a rummage sale. No, Jesus wouldn't buy a ship. Well, yeah, he would. He would buy a ship at a rummage sale, but his God won't let him. His Father won't let him do that. So you're going to show up with glory and power like we wrote, like in the Bible. And that's what he said. He's going to come in the cloud. Now that's very interesting because the cloud has always been used to conceal the ship. I'll point that out in future articles, but just take my word on that. On Mount Sinai, that was the case. He came in a thick cloud, never did see the ship. But it was there, and it was a radiation hazard, so to speak. Okay, I lost my place. Where was I? Oh yeah, coming together. That would be, and if that happened in our lifetimes, we got to see Jesus and extraterrestrials all coming out to us. And over everything is the spirit of his Father. You know, there's something really, I got to tell you, there's a weird spot in the Bible where Jesus is talking about this very moment. How I think he used a lightning, well, I know he used a lightning metaphor, I don't know the exact words, but it was paraphrasing something like, you know, when I come, you won't mistake it. Because as lightning lights up the sky from east to west, I guess he means like, you know how lightning lights up the whole sky? Well, that will be how like my coming will be. Is it will be that obvious, and everyone will know that this is the real thing. And then he said the odd thing. Then will all the tribes of the earth mourn. Gee, that doesn't sound very good. Maybe, I guess if you take the biblical picture, Revelation said that the world is going to be just terrible at the end, and then he's going to come and put things right. So, what was my point there? I forgot again, darn it. And don't say ah when you don't have anything to say. Dead air is better than a fake ah. So yeah, I and if that could happen in our lifetimes, wow. Why do I think it might happen in our? God, I look terrible tonight. I mean, my mouth. No, don't do that, Larry. There, do that. Freeze. Just stay right there. Put the mic in front of your mouth that way. Yeah. My teeth are terrible, guys. I have an implant coming, but as far as the bottom teeth go, man, I don't want to keep. I've already spent my life's fortune on implants, so that's another reason I'm a little pissed off. Is that, and Rich from GUFON, which we're going to touch upon here in a minute, I've been watching Rich every day, and he's just entertaining me. But oh, I shouldn't do this when I'm on the air. It's really jarring. Okay, where am I? Let's just assume I concluded that previous thought, and we'll just move on to something lighter. Yes. So a few words about Rich and GUFON. GUFON is a YouTube channel. I think its name derives from MUFON, and it stands for Greatest UFO Network, and it's helmed by Rich Giordano, who is a believer, but a powerful skeptic, or at least, he wants to debunk whatever is bunk. And, we don't always know if something is bunk or not, but I mean, there are certain things to look at, and I think that Rich does a really good job of debunking sightings and saying, and then if he can't debunk it, then he says it's real. I can't see anything wrong with this. It can't be a balloon. It can't be a drone. Once you rule those things out, then you got a UFO, and then he's excited. So that's what Rich is about. But he gets very much he also puts stuff out like making fun of Bob Lazar and saying he doesn't believe him. Bob's a liar. He makes fun of a lot of people that he doesn't believe in. He thinks they're lying. But that's I don't know how married he is to that belief, but it turns me off because I don't agree. So, but I'm saying this to you because I want you to know that Rich's channel is, for me, very watchable. His show is very much what I'm doing tonight, except much more entertaining. He's really funny, and I can't match his humor. But I don't tune in for humor. It's just that he covers what I want him to cover, which is, the UFO story of the day or whatever, and brings a lot of humor to it, just as sort of a being who he is. And I'll give you an example of that right now. Let's switch to sharing and go to the right tab here. Okay. I think this is from yesterday, and let's just play it.
Anyway, what if I was meant for something else and I'm off the path or on the path?
I'm laughing already, and you're gonna laugh when you hear it. But a little preamble, okay? He's talking about when people tell him, you see that 1111 on the clock, on your clock a lot? You're seeing that a lot, right? Right? That means you're on the right path. And I even fell for that, because for some reason I was seeing 1111 every time not every time, but I mean an extraordinary large number of times it did say 1111. I kept thinking that meant that God was watching me, So I would just start saying, "Hi, God." Wishful thinking, right? And I'm starting to think now that it might be more like when the clock is 1111. It really doesn't look like a number or a readout of numbers. It just looks like some kind of abstract design, right? With these bars of red light. And I think that catches the eye. It's like, hey, what is that? Oh, that's the clock, yeah. Oh, that's God. Yeah. I don't think there's anything to it. In fact, I know there's not. It could be if God or whoever, whatever invisible being is around us, if anyone is, they could do things like that just to be fun, but I don't think they think of that as a very highbrow joke. You know, there's many. What they can do when they really want to make contact is much more exciting than that. But okay, so being on the right path. The thing is, Rich, I believe, and he'll tell me if I'm wrong because I'm going to have him on the show, but I think he's worried whether he's on the right path or not, and I want him to know that he is, because I feel that he is. The thing that is lovable about Rich is that he won't ever lie to you. He just won't. He'll tell you the truth every single time. Because probably he hates liars like I hate liars. And we hate being deceived, especially in the UFO field, but everywhere. Down with fucking liars. Secrecy is for liars, too. And that's what the CIA, that's my message to them. Secrets are for liars, not for national security. You guys could do a lot to clean up and fix this world, and you don't give a shit. That's my coax, right? That's my coax of you. I'm coaxing you telepathically, because I know you're not watching my channel. But yeah, telepathically. Let's go with that. We've all got it. I know we do. So just send those messages to Black Ops that you guys are way overdue to come through with the truth. Oh yeah, I've really digressed. Back to my man Rich. And this is going to segue into my final segment, which has to do with your mission on the path. Are you on the path or not? Got a great story for you. True story, of course. But let's finish up here with Rich's great little...
What if I'm on the right path? See, that's what I don't like. Oh, you're seeing 111. You know how they make these all correlations? If you're seeing 111 or 333, you're on the right path. Yeah, how come it never seems that way? It always seems like I'm on the wrong path. Don't you think if there was a warning sign, like all of a sudden numbers just start appearing everywhere, that would mean you're on the wrong path. Why would I need a warning if I'm on the right path? Just a reminder. Well, you don't need to remind me. I didn't even know I was doing anything to get on a path and to begin with. See, that's why I never liked that. Never liked that analogy. That means you're on the right path, man. All right, now you made me aware of it.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to worry about getting off the path. A path I didn't even know I was on. Where'd you guys go? Oh, there.
Yeah.
These
Thank
glasses
you,
are weak.
Sorry. That is one of the funniest things I've heard in years, honestly. And the reason it's funny is, for me, is because it's straight from the heart, right? I can relate to that for some reason. I don't know why. But, yeah, so... Now I'm on a path. Now I'm worried about going off the path. Now I didn't even know I was on a path. Now I'm worried I might fall off the path. That's what you're doing to me, that 1111 stuff. So, I have great news. If we can believe Betty Eadie, the great news is that we don't need to know. Let me get back to full screen here. Yeah, the great news is that if we can believe it, Betty Eadie, who I will tell you and show you in a minute, we don't have to know our mission. There is a mission, but we don't have to know it. because we're doing it. That's pretty cool, because I don't like planning shit out, you know. I don't want to know what my mission is. I just want to do whatever I can do. I don't know if this is part of my mission. Maybe my mission is see what it feels like to like lose your bodily faculties one by one. See, watch how that affects me and watch how I suffer. And well, maybe that's supposed to be the way it is. I don't even know how I got on that. I'm probably too stoned right now, or not stoned enough. Thank God my parents aren't alive. I know they can see me from heaven, but they're not worried about me because they can see right into me. But my brother and sister, well, my sister doesn't, and she smokes pot. Brother doesn't, but he doesn't bother us for smoking pot. God, this is so confusing because I'm mirrored right now. There, expose that hearing aid. That's so sexy. Okay, yeah, would that be nice if we really do have a mission, but we don't have to know what it is? Now, I don't have a video for you, but I'm going to tell you the story of Eadie, and then I'm going to sign out. So I know I've already gone way past my time, and nobody's going to want to. I've probably lost everybody by now. But I'll get better. But this, okay, let me just show you what she looks like at least. And she came out with this book a long time ago. That's her. She's quite gorgeous in that photo. And she wrote the book Embraced by the Light. She came from a Catholic family, and they were pretty strict, but she was described herself as the black sheep. You know, it never quite took for her, and she just couldn't understand what they were trying to tell her, which means that she was probably using her mind, and it wasn't working it just wasn't computing. And I think that happens to a lot of us. Most of us. All of us? Let the heavens fall. Let the truth be told, though the heavens fall. Anyway, Betty told a story that I will never forget of her her death experience, and then her, you know, and then coming back. I won't make this too long. She ends up in heaven. She's dead. And the first thing she sees is this beautiful field of flowers, and just densely packed flowers. And the colors were so vibrant that even though it looked like an earth scene, it looked like somebody had turned up the saturation. My word, not hers. But I hear this all the time in near-death experiences. And I also find it interesting that in UFO sightings, if there are pretty lights, the lights are always of a color that is just almost undescribable. That's what they say. It's a kind of a higher quality light, almost like the LCD light, right? That was like seemed like a better quality colored light than a frosted type, you know, tungsten thing. Anyway, so where the heck was I on? Betty ends up in heaven. She sees this beautiful field, as I said, and then she sees some people in the distance, and they get closer, and she gets closer to them. But before I get to there, she had the first thought that she had when she saw the beauty of this place was, God, I this is beautiful, but I hardly think that I'm going to be allowed to be here very long. Because she kind of knew that that was like heaven, and then she was looking back on how she never did her Catholic stuff, so how they probably don't like her up here. I guess a lot of people could have that feeling. I probably could. No, not anymore, but I could have earlier. I could have thought that maybe it was right to go to church, and maybe the fact that I didn't is, they're not going to welcome me here. Nothing is further from the truth. You don't need the church, but you do need to listen to your soul, and I'm not going to go into all that. But it's such a great story, and there are moments here that are gonna touch me again when I go over it. But so she's having this feeling like she probably won't be here long, whatever's going on, because she didn't deserve it. And then she meets this group of people, and she didn't recognize them in the distance, but when she got closer, I think she said that these people, she realized that they were her best friends somehow, but she never remembered them on Earth. And when she got back, she mentioned in her book that when she got back to Earth after reviving, she has no idea who the fuck they were now. But when she was with them, she knew that they were friends, and she knew that she wasn't questioning the friendship. It was, they loved each other. And one of the first things they said to her was, we can see what you're feeling, but you shouldn't feel that way. You were only a child sent to school. You were always expected to spill your milk. So that was a really nice thing to say. And I think from that point, she didn't have so much shame, or she felt a little better because these people really approved of her and they loved her. So, okay. So what else happens? Well, very soon, she does see a few things that are interesting. People in white robes, spinning clothing, and kind of like all Amish stuff, but that wasn't like necessarily. It's not like heaven is. She wasn't trying to. The other things she saw didn't make heaven out to be some kind of boring little place where people sit in pillows and knit stuff or whatever. But she did see that spinning, some pretty elaborate spinning wheels and stuff like that. They were very into their job. I remember that now. It's coming back to me. They were very into the art of spinning clothing. So that was nice. And then there was a big library, I think she mentioned too, where you didn't even have to read. You could just, I guess a holodeck experience or something like that. But here's the fun stuff for me is when she actually ends up in the presence of Jesus. He got to meet Jesus. And he was with some of his colleagues. I drink what I do with my water. Be right back. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to wrap soon because I have to pee. Too much information, right? What do I want more, cigarette or vape? Vape, then cigarette. Lost my vape pen. Okay, so we don't have that anymore. I don't need it. I'm gonna wrap soon. All right. So now that you've seen her, I'm gonna switch back to my mug here and finish off. So, turns out she's got to come back. And she just started bawling. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back, no. This went on for some time. And Jesus was watching her, crying. And guess what his response was? He smiled. So he turns to his colleagues and he says, let's explain to her, let's show her what her mission is, then maybe she'll be willing to go back. And they all agreed that was a good idea. But he added, but you won't remember any of this when you get back, so. She said, okay. So the next thing that she says in the book is that Jesus showed her her mission, and apparently she was then willing to come back. And so she did come back. And upon getting back here, she had no fucking idea what her mission was. Love you, Betty. And she's not worried about it. Because why would you be? I mean, if you were sent back with a mission, that would be a real burden, right? But to be sent back and be told that you're on a mission and you're accomplishing it. So just don't worry about what the mission is. Just live your life, because that's the mission. And we're controlling things up here too, so. Anyway, I hear my wife has gotten up, meaning she's feeding the cats. And, hey, Joel, you want to come and say hi? Oh, no. Nobody's watching anyway. I know I've lost my audience. I'm sure I've completely lost my audience, honey. I've been on this thing for 2 hours or more. But I'm wrapping up. Yeah. That's like the Charlie Brown thing, like she's not heard, but not seen, but you can hear it all.
Something wrong?
What?
Something wrong?
Mm-mm. That was from Charlie Brown. That was the sound of the school.
Yeah.
The adults, they didn't have words. They had barks. Yeah, I like that. So she cries. He says, okay, let's show her her mission, but she won't remember it. She gets back to Earth. She doesn't remember the mission. And she doesn't remember who the fuck those people were that she remembers being so feeling in love with. And now can't remember why she knows them or who they are or anything about them. So that's it, really. That's the story. But what do you take home from this? Well, don't worry about what your mission is. You don't have to figure it out. Everything is going the way they think it should. But if I may insert my opinion one more time, I think you guys up there have let this go on way too long. There's way too much suffering. It's going to be hard to explain that. Why didn't, you know, maybe we'll all understand it and not get on your case about it, but right now I'm pretty pissed that you would allow this much suffering. And that's the biggest question people ask. Why would you allow so much suffering? Maybe because we're in a matrix. None of this is real. And therefore he knows that we're not in any danger at all. And that when we all wake up, some of us are going to find out that, oh my God, I was Donald Trump. Or, oh, maybe that isn't a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that love Trump. But for me, that would be kind of a nightmare. He's not my kind of person. At least he's not a war criminal, like George Bush, who is now being heralded and praised for his response to 911, which is just ironic as hell, because his response was to go start a fucking war that never ended. We praise that. A war with a country that didn't even do 911. We are so fucked up. But the great thing is that our awareness of how fucked up we are is starting to raise. And the mainstream media is trying to clamp down on that awareness because they want to maintain the status quo. So censorship is going to happen more and more. But we'll get through that. I just want you to know that I myself, not worried about my mission. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not worried about what my mission is. All I'm worried about is that I don't fall into some kind of vice trap like, well, I won't, because I've already done that 20 years ago. Got hooked on meth, so I won't fall into that. I mean, I'm not worried about that ever happening. I'll never touch anything like that again. Apparently, it's just marijuana for me. That's it. But I think the things that I try to discipline myself on is just don't do things that make you feel guilty. You know, if you're watching too much porn, cut down. And I am. That's it. That's all I'm going to cop to right now. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. If you did, I'd be surprised. And I will see you next time with a whole new set of stuff to talk about. Until then, good night and good luck.